Hello, everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views. Now, I know it's been a while since I've done an interview. Well, today I have a very special treat. I think this is the third time to win this?
Yes.
All right, this is Willem van Waay. This is his third time to win a J70 Worlds. He just did this last week out in, was it Long Beach or San Diego or?
Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey? Okay. So, I don't know all the details, but this guy is amazing. I've met him all around the country. I've seen him in Miami and Charleston and pretty much everywhere. So he travels a lot. He gets around. He is the man. So how you doing, buddy?
Great. Thanks, Zane, for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, good. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some of these hard-hitting questions. What did you have to do to win this Worlds?
So I was sailing with Peter Duncan, Victor Diaz de Leon, and Morgan Trubovich. We put a lot of time in, and I think trying to win these, the goal is to go into the last day with a chance to win, and if you have some luck and things go your way, you can pull it off. We've been there before. All of us have won world championships in the past, and we put a lot of time in. We did everything you think, work on the boat was perfect. We had the right sails. Judd Smith was our coach. We did boat handling. We did we had great tuning partners with Joel Ronning and Bruce Gollison. So we had both of them were in the top 5 also. So we had 3 great teams, and we put the time in. We tried to be really efficient with our training. And Marina Del Rey, we knew it'd be tough. It's like every point counts. Just keep fighting, and you have a 20th, and then you have a 5th, and at the end of the day, it's like we're still right there. We can do it. So it's really tough sailing. It was very unpredictable weather, and the conditions made it really tough. But we got lots of sleep. Peter got a great house. We ate mostly at home. We chilled and watched some movies. Just kind of really tried to lay low and keep it light. We all cooked in the kitchen. We're laughing and having fun, and we did just that. We got to the last race with leading by a couple points, and managed to pull it off. It was pretty scary halfway through that last race, but we had a great first run and managed to get into a controlling position from there and hang on to it. So it was super exciting.
Yeah.
To pull it off there in such a tricky, tough venue.
Yeah, so y'all avoided the yacht club and the regatta park and the parties and just kind of stayed low key and did your own thing. Now, were y'all out there for a week ahead of time getting practice in, or what were y'all?
We were there for 2 weeks before. We did the pre-worlds, and then we did the pre-worlds ended on Sunday. We trained Monday through Thursday. Peter flew back to New York to take care of some business. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I put the boat together. It was mostly myself, but Victor helped with measurement, and Griner Hobbs came and helped. He was kind of backing me up on whatever I needed, so that was really key. I get a little overwhelmed with trying to make sure everything happens, and it was really nice to have a guy just there I could send on a Home Depot run, or he helped me wax the boat. We ate sandwiches together, whatever we needed to do. He sorted it out. So
there you go. So what are some of your rituals? I mean, what do you go through when you're working on a boat? What are some of the things you really key on?
Well, people say I have issues. I'm like the first to the boat. I'm the last to leave. I measure the rig. I want to dive the boat myself. I pretty much go through the entire boat before we go sailing, and these guys said, "Oh, let's have Griner do it every morning," and it was hard for me to do something completely different, but it worked. But when I was stepping on the boat, I was just always like, "Did we get everything done?" Because I try to get there 2 hours early before we have to leave the dock, and I'm real meticulous. And
yeah,
it's worked.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of work. So
I gotcha.
it's nice to help and something different.
I totally understand you and what you're saying. Sometimes I'm like that. I've been lucky in cases where I've had, part of my team that really steps in and takes care of the boat. But then, I'm always questioning, so I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, so what do you do on the boat? I know roughly what you do, but for the people outside, what is your? I mean, I guess you're the trimmer slash tactician. What is your actual role?
Part, I think on the programs that we do the best, I'm trimming the jib or Genoa, trimming the spinnaker, and communicating with the tactician slash main trimmer. That's how it is working in the J70 and the J24 for that matter with Keith. I'm kind of just in a good spot. I have a good perspective. I've done the main trim a lot in the past. I've done tactics a ton, so I think some people say, oh, you should be the tactician on your own and put the team together and sort it all out. But I feel like I can have more success in my situation because it's pretty nice when you have two guys that can work together really well tactically. So Morgan and I would talk on the rail, and then I would be the voice talking to Victor. And Victor's got his hands full, especially in a place like Marina del Rey, where boat speed is essential. It's difficult, but in that bump, it was so bumpy that he got super focused with boat speed, and we had to kind of help him with finding the pressure. It was super difficult. It was not predictable. It was you could be on the left, think you're in the front group, and all of a sudden it gets light and a 25-degree right shift comes in and you're in 45th, and it's like, okay, let's just try to salvage a 20th. And we work really well as a team together. We've sailed a bunch together, and so that's typically my role on the boat is help with tactics, big picture, try to paint the picture to the guys in the back. I'm usually calling the breeze. We can call the breeze really well. He has to do less with the main sheet, and Peter has to do less with the tiller. And if I can forecast that really well, the waves, Morgan was talking about boat on boat, and in having a really good communication loop, we can have the boat go faster and each of them be a little more relaxed and have an easier time doing their job. So.
All right, so y'all kind of make it a solid team effort, so everybody has a little bit of a hand in calling tactics and puffs and shifts. Okay, so what do y'all do to concentrate on speed? I mean, are y'all just playing your jib a lot, burping it out for puffs, bringing it back in, or just pressure changes, or are y'all tweaking Vang, or what all are y'all playing with?
Yeah, so it's all pressure dependent, sea state dependent. I sail with different drivers, but with this program, I mean, the way to do it is get out early, sail with tuning partners that you can be honest with and talk about your settings, where you are on the leads, where you are on you can visually look at the other boats and see their jib halyard, but maybe where are they on the rig tune? I can see their leeward shrouds and kind of guess and look at their backstay and have a pretty close guess. But if Chris Stocky and Patrick Wilson and those guys are telling me that they're 3 and 2 and we're at 4 and 3 and we go a little faster than them in a lineup, maybe that setup is the reason that we're going faster. Or so communicating, and Bruce and Joel were kind enough to work together with us. So
yeah.
The goal is for one of the 3 teams to win and all of us to have a chance.
Yeah.
And, Catapult came on strong at the end, and had there been maybe 1 or 2 more races, they could have easily won. Bruce Gollison was winning part of that last race. They were winning overall, and at the end we kind of pulled it out. So that's the goal. And if you have I've had great training partners in the past, and with Tim Healy and Vince Brune, and it's really the key to go fast. And some venues like Puerto Cervo, it's just windy and choppy and steady wind, and you just go faster, and it makes it really easy. But here, it's not just going fast. There were 7 or 8 boats going really fast. It was more battling for every point and going the right way for the most part of the time, It was tough.
Yeah. So did you have any worries that you might get stuck in a match race with Laura and Taylor at the end?
We thought that might happen. Yeah, we were 2 points ahead of them going into the last race, and we were down near the pin and we got a little tight, and it was a U flag, and if we're over, so we bailed out last minute, jibed around onto port. Taylor had a pretty good start. I thought maybe they would come after us, but if they came after us, it would be pretty easy for Bruce Gollison or Savasana to win at that point. So
yeah.
That's a little high risk, and Taylor and Buckley are too experienced to kind of go after us, maybe to try to rattle us a little at 2 minutes before, but to really try to hammer us right at the start would have probably been a little sketchy if we're both over, or
or you get yourself in a foul. Doing circles in that group is hard to recover from.
Yeah.
All right, so now I sailed against you in the J72 Worlds a month before. What was your preparation like for that? Is it similar? I know y'all got there a little early and did everything there, but
yeah, it was very similar. We trained very hard. We had a great team. We put a ton of time into the boat. I showed up early with Glenn's, Darden's boat captain Paul, and we worked on the boat, and we put all the time in. We put a speedo in, a B&G system. We were very prepared. Unfortunately, Corpus wasn't just the windy, steady venue it usually is, and those first couple races were shifty and light, and we had good starts and didn't do the tack and cross the fleet when you can. We were a little too patient.
Yep.
In lift,
and it was kind of easy to do there. So
yeah. Kind of learned our lesson after the second race, and sailed really strong throughout from 3 to 8 or whatever it was, but we too little too late and couldn't pull it off. We were fourth.
Yeah.
But Paul and those guys sailed great.
Yeah. Well, it's still an amazing feat to do. I mean, just to get a fourth in one Worlds, much less a fourth, and then you go out and win another World Championship, being your third in a row. So, I mean, that's just, trust me, your resume just speaks for itself, and it's absolutely amazing. I felt like, for me growing up, I didn't have much coaching early on in life, but I got some in my late teens and early 20s, and I know that helped me a lot. Now, who helped you, and who coached you, and who kind of got you to where you are now?
Yeah, well, my dad, he raced, well, first of all, my work ethic is thanks to my dad. And my dad was a Navy SEAL, then a deep sea diver, worked for Occidental Oil, and he kind of instilled that hard work ethic. So my dad was actually deep sea diving, and my mom was so over it, it was so dangerous that we were living in Scotland because he was working in the North Sea, like doing some of the most crazy, dangerous stuff. And my mom was just over it, and we were about 7, and my brother was 5. I was 7, my brother was 5, and she was looking in a paper, and there was a Whitbread Around the World race. And back then, you could pay to get on a boat. So my mom, she called up and figured it out, and she bought him a ticket on the Whitbread Around the World race on a boat called the FCF Challenger in 1980, and pretty much said, Dutch, you are retired. You're done with deep sea diving, commercial welding, you're done with all that, and you're racing around the world, and that's your retirement, last adventure sort of.
Wow.
Where you come home, be a dad, and not be risking your life every day. So he raced around the world in 80, 81, and my mom, my brother, and I, we moved to Coronado, San Diego, which is where she was born, and we owned some property there, and we got into the sailing scene because my dad's racing around the world, so we got right in with John Rogers at the Coronado Yacht Club junior program. I was a little bit with San Diego Yacht Club, raced against Hardesty and all those guys since I was 8.
Yeah.
And
see, Hardesty's one of the kids that I traveled around the country with when we were, kind of kids. So yeah, and he's an amazing sailor as well. So that is great that your mom got your dad into it, and then your dad got you into it. All right, so here you are at Coronado, here you are at San Diego. you're sailing against just, I know this lights out there. I mean, there's tons of great sailors.
Yeah,
Who grabbed you?
Typically pretty light
Yep.
and pretty steady, but we have a lot of great sailors in San Diego with Dennis Conner and Vince Brune, and I mean, there's another 10 of them. Chris Bush, Chris Snow. There's a ton of guys. Bruce Nelson.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of guys that I looked up to. Mark Reynolds, that I looked up to. Was fortunate to sail with quite a bit, race against a ton, and then I went to college at St. Mary's.
Yep.
They were number one at the time, and I said, that's where I want to go, wherever's the best school in the country. And in 1992, they were the best school, and I went there and sailed for Adam Werblow and that team, and we won a few nationals together. And then I moved back to San Diego, and I was teaching sailing at J World actually for about a year, and that was tough. It was the basics and every day and long hours and not much money, and
Yeah.
it was tough. And this thing called the Lipton Cup, which is a big deal in San Diego, came up, and our yacht club wanted to put together a really strong campaign. And Robbie Haynes
Yep.
from my yacht club. Robbie Haynes is a gold medalist in the Soling, and he was going to drive, and John Rogers and Rick Harris and a bunch of Coronado Yacht Club's best guys. I was trimming jib and spinnaker and helping with tactics, and we ended up winning that. And then Robbie took me around the country, the world, racing far 40s with him. So then I kind of became either the main trimmer or the jib trimmer, spinnaker trimmer, pit guy, whatever. And we had some really great teams and good programs, and we won some big events. And all of a sudden, it was like, all right, I can stop working at J World and start doing what I really love, racing boats, and
Yeah.
making better money and having a lot more fun,
Yep. Well,
and getting better myself. So that was nice.
very cool. So, what is one thing that helped you the most in your sailing career? You know, just best advice, best lesson learned. What's one thing that if you can, or a couple things, you know, that you can narrow it down to that really?
I've been really fortunate. I've had, and maybe that came because, I'm sure that came because of hard work. You know, put your head down. I was never, you know, I'm 48 and I'm still the first one to go longboard bottom paint or whatever the nastiest job that you can have. I mean, I think you just got to work hard and pay your dues, and whatever the team needs you to, you know, if you want to be on the best team, you know, Cooper Dressler, for example, he was working for Oracle and all that, and then all of a sudden he's with those guys. He's a fit guy. He put himself in the right spot. He was working hard, and he got the go.
Yeah.
Because he put in the time. He was working hard, and so some of these guys are great sailors, but they don't necessarily, you know, they jump from college to keel boats, and it's a whole different beast. It's a rig tune that they don't really know about. It's all the boat prep that they need to learn,
and dealing with more people, which
dealing with more people, dealing with an owner that maybe can't drive as well as you can.
Yeah.
How do you get the best result when he's fairly inexperienced or she's inexperienced? And
yeah, when they don't grow up with a tiller.
Communicate well. Yep.
Yeah.
So that is a full art, and I've been fortunate to sail with so many great tacticians that I've learned how all of them do it, and now, you know, most of those tacticians, they haven't sailed with too many other tacticians.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many times Vince Brune crewed for Terry, for example.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it happened a couple times. I know Chris Larson and Vince won a world championship in the J24 together, but it doesn't happen that often. But I was fortunate to sail with everybody, Mark Reynolds, Terry, everybody. So I think you take a little bit of the good and bad from everyone, and I put my head down and put in the time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's amazing. You know, and I didn't realize that you were so close to me growing up in age. I thought you were one of these younger whippersnappers. So, but I am starting to see a little bit of your gray beard.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've got a little bit, but it blends in with me. All right. So you mentioned all these America's Cup guys and amazing sailors. So what are your thoughts on America's Cup with the, the foiling boats and all this, what do you think of it now?
I think the boats are amazing. It's the highest stage, and the sailors and the boats are incredible. I think my window for that has passed. I'm not as athletic as I used to be, and in those boats there seems to be only a couple great sailors, and then there's a lot of muscle and power and cyclists and rowers, and I do miss some of the match racing of the old days, and watching Dennis and the old 12 meters, and everyone had a job, and I miss a little bit of that, because maybe I could have had that at some point if things were different, but
well, see, that's the thing, I'm getting to is, your buddies with Buckley and Taylor, and I know they're struggling to get Stars and Stripes going again. Where are the odds of you jumping in there and helping them whip them into shape or do something like that, or like they need it? But you know what I mean. You just join in and be part of a crew on something like that.
I really, to be honest, I like the small boats. I've done the TP52s, the Par 40s, this 80-footers. I really enjoy the dynamics of 3 or 4 people, 5 people on the J24. I think that's kind of my wheelhouse.
That's your bag, man.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, all right.
And, there's a lot of things I wish I could foil board, and you got to find your niche and kick ass at it. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, well, you're definitely doing it. All right. Speaking of things like that, now Olympics. Were you ever have any aspirations for Olympics, or?
I would have loved to have done that. I wish there was a small keelboat in the Olympics, because really, what prepares these young Olympians to pro sailing? Sailing a 470 or a 49er they're crazy talented, no doubt, and boat speed is a huge part of it, but it's not the best warm up for jumping into a J70 or a Melgus 24. Yes, if you're driving, it's great, but if you're not driving and you're trying to help, I would love to have some small 3 or 4. The Soling would have been my boat.
Yeah.
And the Soling got pulled out kind of right as I was getting into my prime, and I probably would have done a campaign the very next time, and with a couple of my friends, but that was gone, and that opportunity passed.
Yeah. I know they're talking about doing this, I guess the open 40s, or, the double-handed thing. I don't know if they picked the boat yet. They probably have, and I'm just not very in tune. But, something like that, I figured, with your pedigree and background, you would be able to find, a mixed partner and jump right in. But,
maybe.
I mean, I know it's a slog.
So expensive. These Olympic campaigns, it's so expensive. Most of these kids, a big part of the fundraising is coming from their parents.
Yeah.
Probably half of the fundraising, half of it's coming from their parents, or where's the money coming from? So for me, it was like, okay, I can either spend all my money to try to qualify, or I can actually make a living doing what I really prefer to do. So.
Man, I tell you what, you've got it nailed down to the perfectly. All right, no aspirations. Yeah, all right. I'm shooting from the cuff here, so I'm not sure really what else to ask you other than, all right, name us a really good sailing story. What's one amazing feature that cross, attack, a duck, a mark rounding, something that you pulled off that you're just like, how the hell did we get through that?
There's been so many of those, but I guess, coming in on port port ley line, 37 far 40s, winning the regatta. It's just like we ducked one boat, or you barely tack in there, and you somehow don't foul, don't hit it, make it around, get 5th in the race, win the regatta. Where the far 40 worlds, we won in the Bahamas, and we had a couple situations like that where we just kind of tuck it in there, and real scary, because those boats went the same speed and the legs were pretty short, and everyone was in a full starboard train of 30 boats. And it's like you're coming in on board, it's like, okay, we're either second or first, or we're gonna duck the entire train. So those were always really scary, fun, sketchy spots. But
I've had several of those. I did a J72 regatta. It was one of my first real big regattas in J22s up in, I think it was Cleveland. And the way the course was set up and the waves and everything, you wanted to start at the pin, and then of course you couldn't cross. And being the aggressive starter as a tactician I am, I kept putting my guy at the pin. We'd get the top 2 boats of the pin, we'd grind out, we'd be top 3 up the course, port tack ley line, coming to the weather mark. And obviously our karma wasn't right, because we couldn't find a hole ever. And we tried that approach, 6 of the 9 races. Have to duck a train of boats and end up in like 60th after, it's just like we were in 3rd, man. We were in 2nd. How? And yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, you have to play your cards. Sometimes, the pin's a little better, but if you can't tack and get onto the favored lifted port tack right away, you just get yourself in a lot of trouble. I got a little story for Victor, though. Another fun story.
All right.
J24 Worlds 2019. I was sailing with Keith, and he was with Rossi. And I told my team, I said, okay, I know Victor really well. He's going to come after us right away. Race 1, which was race 9 and 10, so it was the last day. I'm like, Victor's going to come after us. And they're like, are you sure? Your buddy? He's going to come after us? I'm like, he's going to come after us. When's he going to come after us? It's going to be about 1:30 on the clock, and he's going to jive behind us and be following us on port. Sure as shit, we're like, the line set up. I'm like, we're going to be a little closer to the pin. The pin was super favored. Start coming, and here comes Victor on starboard, and he's jiving, and my whole team looks up at the clock, and it's like 90 seconds. Like, holy shit. So he's following us, and I'm like, all right, I know what's going to happen. What he wants to do is tack to leeward of us and get us to either get shot out the back, pushed over early, put us in a tough spot. Because if he had a good one, we had a bad one, he had a better drop, I think. Yeah, so that would have given him the upper hand. And I said, okay, I already talked about this at breakfast. I said, Keith, he's going to follow us. You're going to pretend like you're going to tack, and you're going to jibe around. And he's like, really? Like, okay, so we there it is, we're come up a little bit, I look like we're tacking, start to luff the jib, and then Keith just pulls the thing, and we jibe around, and Victor rolls into the tack, and now he's with the rest of the fleet. We jibe around, duck a couple more port boats, like a double tack, win the pin, tack, and cross the whole fleet. And Victor has a good start also with Rossi, and we barely cross him. He tacks, crosses the whole fleet. He gets first, we get second, but it was like, okay, we're still winning by 10 points. It took a lot of the stress off. And it got really weird the last race, but Victor's gonna laugh that I told that story. But that was one of those hectic moments that it was like, oh, this is stressful. But we pulled it off barely.
Yeah, well, you know what? The good thing is at least you knew his maneuver and what he was going to do. You're like, all right, I got this. I've got the solution for this.
Yeah, he's not going to be nice.
Yeah. I've got a couple sailors that I sail against down here in the Gulf Coast that you know at 2 minutes, the gloves come off and it's just like, oh, come on, really? And you just know it's coming. So, yeah, you try to prepare for it, but sometimes you just never know what's going to happen. All right, so what's your worst experience? Have you ever had a big disaster, a big, rig come down, colossal failure? I mean, I'm sure you have. But what's your Yeah.
I've had two in the par 40, almost identical. One was in Hawaii, and one was in San Francisco. I was the main trimmer, and with the wheel, back then I was did most of it. Well, I was in the beginning when they were all wheels, and then they started to go tiller, and but both of these happened with the steering wheel. And when a boat ducks another boat, if a par 40 hits, let's say between the main sheet, winch, the steering wheel, and the back of the boat, it'll pivot the boat so fast that what happens is the boat turns, which turns the rudder, which turns the steering wheel. So I've had two situations where the first one was in Hawaii. I was with Robbie Haynes.
I'm seeing this in my head right now. So
and I go to lure. I wish I had these videos because that actually got caught on tape. It was somehow on the America's Funniest Home. It wasn't very funny, but it somehow got on there. And we had a situation, and the Sydney 40 went to duck us. I think it was a Sydney 40. And the main went out, and I went to lure to check it out. I was going to wave him by. We were going to duck him. Well, he starts to duck us, and his main hits the lured runner, and the main won't go out. And I come running up to the weather side like, everybody, hang on. Just hang on. I grab the stanchion, and he's not going to make the duck. Starts to make the duck, then catches and coming up, and it's going to be bad. So he hit us, and the boat pivoted. The wheel turned. The owner his feet were like 12 feet up. His arms were on the wheel, and he just went head first right down to the leeward side. Just over the top, right down into the leeward side. And it was terrible. We had a huge hole in our boat. And a damaged owner, you know. Oh yeah, very, very beat up. And then San Francisco, about fast forward 4 years later, par 40s again, steering wheel, and I'm trimming main, and this time it's a starboard boat, I think, and he waved us, and he starts to duck, and then he misses the duck, and I realize he's going to hit us, and I tell the driver, I said, just let go of the steering wheel, and I said, let go of the steering wheel, grab me or the stanchion, and he hung onto the steering wheel, and he went right over the top, the exact same.
Oh, wow.
And ended up, it was really damaged his leg, and we put ice on it, and it was like, San Francisco, it's like an hour and a half motor home, and he put the ice on so long he actually got frostbite.
Oh, God.
Almost lost his leg.
Oh, my God.
Had ice on it too long. I mean, I think he broke his leg also, but the ice was actually the big issue. So.
Holy cow. Okay, those are good ones.
So I've had a couple scary incidents. I've had masts come down and sabots and lasers, and laser twos, but never a big boat, fortunately.
Yeah.
And,
you're lucky because it's carnage, man.
I'm sure.
It is carnage. All right, well, I tell you what, I think, let me check my timing. How far have we gone on this one? Only 30 minutes. You know what? You got 10 more minutes in you?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about women's sailing. What do you think we can do to promote women's sailing?
Well, no, I would love to have more gals in the sport of sailing, and a lot of these boats, they have weight limits.
Yeah.
So most women, where they come in is, tons are talented, but unfortunately it turns into like, okay, we have 123 pounds, or 95 to 120, whatever. That's kind of where a lot of the young women racers get in. So, but I think what we need to do is somehow, I don't know the answer, but I was thinking we could do something like, for example, I talked to the Johnstones. I was like, maybe we can build this smaller J boat, like a J60, we would call it. This smaller boat, it's 3 people, and you sail, let's hypothetically say that you sail 3, there's no weight limit, but if you sail with women, you can have 2 people legs out. If you sail with men, you can only have one guy legs out. So some boats would choose to have, okay, we got the driver, we got the small guy tactician, and then we have the two talented girls, one trimming the kite, one doing the bow, or you have a girl trimming the main, and you have a guy and a girl now able to hike legs out.
Yeah.
Somehow make it where you actually
Get an advantage by having
an advantage. You know, I'm not saying that I guess I don't know the answer, but I thought maybe that'd be a way to get more girls in the sport, more women driving. So if you had a woman driver, you could have one girl hiking and one guy hiking. You couldn't have two guys hiking, maybe, but you could have, or maybe you could. If you had a girl driving and a girl doing main sheet, you could have two guys hiking. But set something up where it's really, you know, all these teams would want to sail 4 up, and then they would get more women in the sport.
Yeah. You know, that requires a whole new boat, a whole new design, and then getting people, you know, the country and world around it. Like I know in the Melges class, I keep trying to figure out ways to get more women in it, and unfortunately for me, with my fat butt in the back of the boat, it's really hard to manage a big guy that can trim and then enough bodies to fit the weight range. Like I keep pushing for, a no weight limit. So I think that would definitely make it so you're a little more flexible. You can do some more things, and I think if we just got rid of weight limits, so we're not all stuck at a certain weight, and we all know roughly where you want to be, which, you know, your weight limit's pretty close to it. So, you know, just get it so you can build a team and not worry about it. That's a helpful thing, I think, for, you know, for your smaller keel boats, your Melges, your Jays, and whatnot.
I mean, that has its pros and cons also. You know, weight limits are essential, and, you know, ideally you sail with less people but with more weight.
Right.
In an Etchells, Dennis Conner, they sailed at 850 pounds with 3 guys, and they won the Worlds in San Fran. And there were times in the Far 40 that our whole team was losing 75 pounds as a group of 9 guys, and we would lose 75 pounds. We'd regain it all back, and the goal was to be 75 pounds plus heavier than the weight limit. So, you know, weight limits, I think, you know, for example, the J70 has no weight limit. But we only probably had 5 women at the J70 Worlds. That's pretty lousy.
Yeah, that's very lousy.
I mean, the J24, the J24 has a pretty good group. But, you know, I think, you know, maybe it's one of these fleets that are kind of dying to do something like I'm talking about. Or maybe make a whole circuit that is the J70 going that route. You either sail 3 or you can sail 4, but you can't sail, you can sail 3 guys, or you can sail 4 with 2 girls or something.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
We've got, I think sailing as a group, you know, as all of us guys sailors, we need to come up with some way to get it more involved. And I don't know the solution. That's why I seem to ask everybody that comes on here that question.
I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah.
You know, the Olympics, they're trying to do more of that, have a man sailing with a woman at the games, and, you know, but we need to spark something up for the rest of it. But unfortunately, most of these boats are pretty high performance, need a lot of weight, and just naturally the guys are heavier. So they end up doing more of the sailing. But it's sad because there's so many talented girls in college sailing. And then it's only, and maybe it's the only 90 to 130 women from college sailing that actually get to do some sailing, that really competitive sailing in their future. You know, the really talented 100 and 155, maybe they don't do much sailing. That's really too bad. Yeah,
I know. And I was going to say that. I know that at just about every Melges regatta, you always see that 105, 110 pound girl at, you know, J70s, you know, a lot of regattas, that's what you see. But you don't see very many of the 160 pound girls, and I'm not sure why.
The Europeans, they really like sailing heavy in the J70. So the J70 in Europe, I'm sure in this Copenhagen Europeans, there'll probably be like 60 girls racing. Because there's also 125 boats, but they'll have a lot of girls sailing on the 5 up boats, maybe even more than that. So, there's spots that they're making it happen, but in the U.S. teams, in the J70, the J22, mostly Viper, VX. VX has some girls, I guess, but it's tough. I think they almost need to make some sort of rules around it just to get more women involved.
Yeah. Well, I know we sail Vipers a lot, and it's our inter-club boat, and we have a Lipton Cup, kind of like you guys do. That's actually in like 2 weeks for us. But we have tons of women that sail, and not as many drivers as I would like, but we definitely, our team's going to have a young 16-year-old girl driving our boat, one of our boats, and we're going to, crew her up pretty well so that she can hold the stick and we can get her through. But a couple of the clubs have some good female drivers. I'm not sure how many are going to be used at Lipton's, but in our area, I know we all try to promote it, and you can play with weight a lot and, move bodies around. I don't know if it's, if you move up higher in the levels, nationals, North Americans, worlds, I don't know how well that plays out. And a lot of it, I think, comes down to experience. These girls don't get to go drive in a big regatta, don't get to go do big events, and that scares other people from saying, "Here, take it." That's my theory, is that we're not giving them the opportunity to even launch any further. I know for the last 3 years in a row, I keep trying to get my Melges to Miami for an all-girls team, and I'll get the boat there, get it all set up for them. And just, here you go. And trying to build that team, and it's difficult. It really is a lot more difficult than I thought. Because I failed 2 years in a row in this attempt, probably because I wait too late. But I think I'm going to start a little earlier this year. So
one thing I can say is don't ever be afraid to ask. There's a lot of us that are really willing to help, and maybe some of these girls are intimidated by the professionals and the sport, the keel boats. They came out of college sailing, they're like not sure what the steps are, but just go to someone in your area and don't be afraid to just say, hey, can I'm sure we can help. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. I've asked a few different guys, hey, can you sponsor me for this? I need sunglasses, sunscreen, whatever. You kind of just write up this funny email, and what do you know? Here it is. Yeah, how can we help you? We'll get you that. No problem.
Yeah.
You need 20 hats. I got J70. They do great buffs and hats, and they sponsored Savasana and Bruce Gollison and us at the Worlds in the J70, and they just we're open to helping. And if you're afraid to ask, it's definitely not going to happen if you don't ask. If you don't ask for a raise, it's not going to happen. If you don't ask for trying something new, it's not going to happen. So don't be afraid. Get out there and seek what you want. Get after it. So that would be my bit of advice to the young ladies wanting to get into the sport. Is don't be intimidated. Believe in yourself and try to find someone that can help you.
Yep. All right, well, great. I think that's great advice, and that goes for men and women that are trying to get into the sport.
Sure.
All right, we're getting a little long here, so just last thing. What's your best advice? I think really that's it, is just ask and try to get out there, but got any good advice?
This would be what I said earlier, is just work hard at it. Don't think you're too good, Some of these young kids, they get out there and they think, I should be doing tactics, I should be doing this. Maybe they get their one shot at it, and it's not so easy,
Yeah.
You have to put your time in. Don't think you're too good. You don't go win one regatta and be like, I'm going to show up late and I'm going to be the last one to the boat. I'm going to be on my cell phone while the team's putting the boat away. Like, put your head down, work hard. It's not, Robbie Haynes, a lot of people told me, hey, maybe this pro sailing, it's not that easy of a gig. you know. But if you work really hard at it, you want something bad enough, you can get it. So that would be my advice: is don't be afraid to ask. One, but more importantly, is put your head down and get after it, and don't be too good for doing anything to do with the program. If the owner wants something, dive the boat. You know, I'm meticulous. I want everything to be perfect, and I try to involve myself with programs that's how they want to do it. So
I'd love to get you on my boat, but I don't think you'd want to get on old number 9. It's been totaled 13 times or so, and put back together with bubble gum and duct tape. So
it's possible.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you very much for this. Stay on the line, but I'm going to wrap this up. So for all of you viewers, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try to get back into this interview series again. So just keep an eye, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and there's a little bell down there. If you hit that, that's for notifications. It'll tell you when I do these again. So once again, everybody, thanks for watching Sailing Views. This is Willem van Waay. He is the man, absolute beast. So thank you. All right, thanks, guys. And with that, we will see you later. Bye-bye.